Hey, it's Bailey Wiki. This is the March 2025 Design With Me series where I build Foundry scenes using free modules and tools. All assets are Bailey Wiki assets available with a 1-month Patreon sub, but these tools work with any creator's assets. So unless I say otherwise, all modules are free. Let's dive into the next map. Okay, now let's take the diorama template, the 5x diorama template, and let's see. Let's get started with this. So let's duplicate the template. I'll drag it over here and activate it. And let's see what we can come up with here. Just randomizing it, double clicking each of these, seeing what it gives me. I like that middle piece here. What I feel like I want to do is build like an archaeological site, right? So these are some ruins. So I want a lot of suggestion of ruins and doorways and stuff like that. I'm going to adjust my ambient lighting. That middle piece is just really bright. I kind of want to bring the brightness during the daytime down just a bit. And then I'll click this middle one here, and to decrease its brightness on its own, I'll just change its tint slightly. I'll just make it slightly more gray here and kind of play around with this tint. I want it to sort of feel like it's part of the same ruin as the pieces around it. So just change the color just a tad. All right, so let's open up our category browser and let's find some cave pieces here. So I think we might be able to make some use of them. Here's like some actual caves, and it's bringing all the tiles out. So there's like a tile set, and they're all together. So if I click U for unlink, it'll free this one from the rest of the set. I can drag it around. Do the same thing here. I'll click U on each one of these, kind of free them. I'm just seeing how the artwork works, seeing how it links up. I like that there's like a little doorway in that one. These could be like ruins that are so old they almost look like caves. I'm just kind of placing them around the artwork, seeing if this kind of fits or where I might fit this in. I want to create like a lot of different egress points and places that might be explored by players, or enemies might come out of them like swarming all at once. And these work really well as overhead tiles, so that players can actually like go under them. It feels like they're going in the cave. And going down further, I'm finding some other cave assets that I really like. This one's really good because you can just put it anywhere, especially with this kind of artwork in it, and it works really well. So now I've got this like great cave entrance there. So maybe I'll move this one down a little bit, give it its own little spot. And I'm just thinking about how my players might, make their way through this. Like, where do they start from? And what's their destination? So put another cave here. That one looks really good. But I am going to adjust its color just a little bit. I'm going to desaturate it just so it matches the wall behind it. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So I just open up the effects macro, look for adjust, and you hit it once and it'll desaturate it. You can adjust it after that and change even more settings. And I kind of like this. I'm going to put that one somewhere else. I really like this one with these vines hanging over it. Looks really good. Stick it right there. And we'll just put this one in a different spot. Let's make it a lot smaller. I'm just using quick scale to make it go down in size really quick. That feels good. Another little entrance or egress right there. So you can see like the intrigue of the map starting to come together. Your players are going to see these uh, these entrances and caves and stuff. And there's a lot of plot telling that you can do around here. Now I'm looking for, like, since this is a dig site, I'm thinking like maybe there's, like, I don't know, cracks or something that there's some actual digging going on. So I looked up rubble, and I've got these nice little tiles here that look like, yeah, like maybe this is part of an archaeological site, right? They're systematically sort of digging and excavating in certain areas, looking for, um, you know, pieces of this lost civilization. Now I changed the order. I'm looking at the order of which one is overlapping which here over on the side. And I really like that bottom one. It just gives me a lot of little doors and more of this, like, you know, hey, this is a ruin and there's secrets in it. Uh, I lost my tile there, so I used a quick scale or a tile sort to recover it, bring it back up to the top again. All right, it's looking pretty good. Feels like there's a lot of activity all of a sudden going on here. Now I'm going to grab this dirt pile and I'm going to add them to a brush. I'm going to scale it down here. And I'll just put some dirt piles around. Just for a little bit more of the believability, a little ambiance here. Feel free to cover up, original artwork. I think it's pretty effective to just kind of shape the map the way you want, just laying tiles on top. It's feeling pretty good. And, you don't have to go search for a shovel. Just type shovel. As long as your global search, that little globe is on, you can surface any of your shovels. Let's get rid of our rubble out of the brush. And now we just have our shovel to worry about. And we'll just kind of, we want the shovel to be the right scale. So we want it to be certainly no more than a square and a half, maybe. I'm gonna add a little drop shadow to this, just helps it stand up off the map a little bit. All right, subtle little details, but it's helpful. Because they're tiles, you can make that shovel, like, give a shovel to your players. You can create a shovel item in your sidebar, and you can have Matt, literally give the shovel to the player, and the shovel itself would disappear. These are just ideas for how you might play a map like this. So we're looking up clutter prefabs. There's other ways to find this, but clutter prefab just gives you these, like, really instantly easy clutter items. Just looks like, there's equipment and, stuff being found, and you might see equipment like this around a dig site. Just really quick ways of, decorating a scene. Now let's see what we might do here next. I feel like as a dig site, we're going to want like some big central tent, maybe where everything's happening, where they're examining stuff that's coming out of the site and cataloging things. And maybe this is where the main people are. Now I'm just looking at, like, where would this tent sit? I'm easily, put it over any of the artwork, just kind of finding the right spot for it. And I really kind of like this spot right here, sort of at the bottom of the map. And I did this in another map. First, I'm gonna rotate this so the door is in the right spot. You know where the door is if you switch to the wall view. But I'm gonna switch that out. So I'm gonna open up my category browser. I'm just gonna look up animated canopy. And inside the category browser, I'm gonna hunt around. And I'm gonna just hover over this and see the previews. I'm gonna see what's what kind of options I've got. And I missed the very first one. That's the one I want. So I'm going to copy the source to the clipboard. That's going to copy the path. I'm going to paste it in there. And now I've got an animated canopy where it was previously not animated. And I just love the look of that. I think I'm holding down Alt to just change the rotation of the top. I just want the light to cast from the top left, just so it agrees with all the other shadows in the scene. Generally, my stuff has light coming from the top left, just so you can make everything agree. And yeah, it looks pretty good. It's really subtle. Your players, I don't even know if they'll notice, but when they do, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that tent canopy is animated." Kind of thrilling. Again, I'm holding down Alt. I think it's Alt so I can move things around without moving the rest of the prefab. It's just a hotkey you gotta get used to. Let's drop our player in and start testing it. How does this feel? This feels pretty good. I noticed my door's in the wrong spot, so I'm going to rotate it again. And now the dirt's covering where the door would be, so just kind of move things around. Okay, so now I've got my main entrance. You can hear the canvas sound. It's pretty good. You can see the inside's empty right now. We'll address that in a second. Okay, now this is mat enabled, so when you double click it, there's actually some interiors already set up. So I'm just kind of looking at whether any of these might apply to this particular setting. And what I think I want to do, I want to start with a blank one and just put some decoration in here. Let's turn on levels and we'll go to our interior here. Let's change our levels to 0, 10, and 10 to 20. There you go. Turn off edit. Now we'll click on our first level. And clearly what's going on here is this animated roof is not set to the right numbers. Let's set it to 10 to fade, restrict light. Everything else looks good. Okay. So now we're just looking at the interior. So let's look up desk and let's grab a desk that we think goes in this kind of environment. And because I changed the levels of the of the roof, it kind of changed other things. So let's set that to 0 and we'll get rid of fade so it's always visible. All right, now that should be underfoot, how we expected it to be. But it changed our roof again. So what I did was just unlink the roof. I was just fighting it too much. It was linked to the bottom floor and they kept moving each other up and down. All right, so now we need a chair to go behind our desk. So we'll just type in chair and we'll get hundreds of results here. I like these wooden chairs. So we'll put this one in. And probably some kind of table here. I want this to be sort of a place where there's a few key NPCs. Maybe there's some downtime in here. I'm going to grab this. Now, red may seem ostentatious, but remember, anything with red pixels is colorable. So we'll take this great big table here with tons of books. This really comes from a library, but I feel like there's a lot of research going on here. And we'll grab both of these and we will color them. So we'll use the Dungeon Draft thing to recolor them. So now we've muted that red. It looks a lot more believable for the space, right? Turn it to something like more of a brown. And now I think we've got something that works. And let's see, we might look for, I don't know, bookshelf maybe. I don't know any of these will really work for us, but we'll just see what we've got. I think what we'll do is we'll keep it simple, keep these things spaced out enough that when we go in there, we've got a little bit of space between NPCs. I think that's pretty good for right now. think if we refresh the scene, that overhead tile will show through again. Now we're just kind of walking through the scene and seeing how it's coming together. How do we see our players moving through this scene? And specifically, where might we need to build walls to separate things? What I'm going to do is I'm holding down select and grabbing all these pieces, and I'm hitting Shift E, and I'm putting them all at level 10 and making them always visible. And you'll see what kind of effect that gives us here in a second. Because they're overhead tiles, as players walk into them, it looks like they're being obscured by that shadow, right? They're really just walking underneath an overhead tile. I just like that effect. I think it's good also if you have like enemies hidden there that just kind of walk out of the shadows. It's just nothing like thrilling your players with surprises. It's feeling pretty good. And just evaluating the map in general. I'm going to give it a little life, so I'm going to add some black birds, some crows and hawks. This is really using FX Master with, I believe, the eagles colored and tinted black, and there might be some crows as well that make a few a little bit smaller. Just feels like it gives a little bit of life, something to surprise players with. So let's start putting in our walls. We're going to use terrain walls. I like that because they show the artwork and the thickness of the walls that are in front of you, but they don't really show what's behind them. So we'll just kind of navigate around our artwork here. Depending on how much latitude you give your players for exploring, you may want to add more walls to this map, like around the edges and stuff, so your players can't, sneak behind your surprises. But for right now, we'll keep this relatively simple. And I'm just using the artwork as a rough guide to create these walls. Again, you don't have to be exact because these terrain walls will show the artwork, so it works pretty well. And you don't want to have too many walls, just slows down performance. And we'll do the same thing up here. Just trying to create a separation between these different areas because I want players to discover them, not all at once. And you can really approximate this. You don't have to get this exact. You just have to figure out like what artwork do you want them to see, and what artwork do you want to be hidden. I'll do the same thing with this nice little archway here. I feel like this could be a really nice, interesting plot hook, this archway that's kind of sitting here. I don't know, maybe it's a magic portal, but maybe it's just a kind of the place your players start in. And let's open this up and change this wall design just a little bit. You see I'm leaving a gap here between this section and the other one, just so the players can travel through that. It's feeling pretty good. Let's turn the lights down and let's see how things are coming together now. Let's reset that fog of war. That's pretty good. I can see this area, but I can't see into the other areas. As I walk around, I discover, more things that are interesting. And I'm going to travel through this narrow gap and find another area that maybe is my destination. Yeah, this is pretty good. Got a lot of things that can serve really well here. Okay, now we're going to turn the lights down again. Actually, before we do that, let's go to settlements, buildings, in the marketplace. And let's hunt around here for some prefabs. This random canopy could be good. I'll add that to a brush. And here's a thatched umbrella prefab we can add to a brush. And then maybe we can, let's shrink this down so we can see what these things are called easier. Here's a random merchant tent. These just work well for like, there's a canopy set up. I'm just adding these to the same brush over on the side there, which you can't see. There's a woodworker tent from the recent release. It feels pretty good. There's actually some NPCs you can drop into things as well. Okay, so let's take our brush that we've got and we'll start putting these down. These canopies are overhead, so they automatically will include light. Your players can walk underneath them and discover NPCs, kind of putting them towards the edges where, maybe things are set up. I'm holding Control Shift and just rotating my mouse wheel to randomize things. And I'll get rid of ones that I've already used enough of here. Like that's where you might find some canopies there. And now if we switch to darkness and we go to our lights and torches, now we can grab a couple of these and add these to a brush. These are all prefabs. Prefabs are all at the top. The regular tiles and things are down below if you've enabled your virtual directory. But we'll drop these in kind of strategically so we see how this thing gets lit at night. You can see they're already being occluded well by the overhead tiles of those canopies. I love this part. I love lighting things at night. I think scenes at night are just really intriguing. You're going to have some torches by these caves, right, in case something bad's going to come out of them. Maybe a torch around where the supplies are kept. And most of these torches are matte enabled. You see how it says matte in the name? That's a code that Monk's Active Tiles is on them. And typically what that means for a torch is that it's toggleable. So you can just click it and it will snuff out or relight. Now, what I do want to do is, let's drop our player in here. And let's test this. We can hear the nighttime sounds. Love that. The main tent looks great. You can see these torches kind of beckoning us through the helping us wayfind our way through the map. You can see the toggles are working properly. It's looking pretty good. Just as a reminder, there's a lot of tiles here, but when we're all done, if we're going to play this, we can run Media Optimizer by Ripper, and it'll take all of these background tiles, these underfoot tiles, and it will make them one single optimized image, which is great just for maximizing performance. So let's give this a name. We'll call it the Archeological dig site. And I think we've got another great map here with plenty of things we can change later. So that's it for this map. Grab these assets on my Patreon, link in the description if you want to support the channel as well. If you enjoyed this, subscribe, hit the bell for updates, and drop a like or a comment. Your questions actually help the community and the algorithm. Thanks for watching and have fun making your maps.